Good morning, my lovely students. I hope you all are doing great. Dear friends, today I will be talking about chemical reactions of alcohols. So have a look. We will study the chemical reactions of alcohols in three main categories. The first one is basically the reactions involving the cleavage of oxygen-hydrogen bond in alcohols. A very simple thing. Let's take on an alcohol. So those reactions which involve the cleavage of OH bond, we have to study them first. So the reactions involving the cleavage means breaking down of OH bond, we will study them first. And in second category, what we are going to study, have a look, those reactions involving the cleavage of carbon-oxygen bond in alcohols. So have a look here, my dear friends. This is your carbon-oxygen bond in alcohols. So we will be studying in some reactions at second category that how the carbon-oxygen bond breaks and it leads to the various chemical reactions, my dear friends. And in the third category, my dear friends, we will talk about those reactions which involve the alcohol molecule as a whole. So here in the third category, the entire alcohol molecule will be involved in the chemical reaction. So in first case, there is a cleavage of OH bond. In the second case, there is a cleavage of CO bond. And in the third case, the entire alcohol molecule will be involved in a chemical reaction, my dear friends. So let us go for the first type now. The first type we have here is reactions involving the cleavage of the oxygen-hydrogen bond in alcohols. So let's take on an alcohol here, my dear friends. And we have to break this particular bond. OH bond we have to cleave. Cleave means to break. So this is our first category of reactions. And in this first category of reactions where we are breaking OH bond in alcohol, my dear friend, we have three subtypes here. Like we will study first of all reactions with active metals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, aluminium. And in second case, we will study the reactions with Grignard's reagent. Okay, so how alcohols react with active metals, how alcohols react with Grignard's reagent, and how alcohols undergo esterification. So have a look here. Alcohols react with carboxylic acids, acid chlorides, and acid anhydrides to form esters. So in all these three subtypes, you will study that there will be a cleavage of OH bond. So keep in your mind the cleavage of OH bond and let us start. Let us start with the reaction with active metals. Have a look here. So reaction with active metals. Let us read this statement first. Alcohols react with active metals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, aluminium to form alkoxides with the evolution of hydrogen gas. That means the alcohol will react with the active metals. Have a look here. So let's take on one alcohol. And remember always that you are breaking the OH bond here. So you will be breaking the OH bond here. This thing should be taken in consideration. So this is our alcohol. And let's make it to react with the reactive metals. You can take here sodium, potassium, aluminium, magnesium. So let us take sodium first. So in this particular reaction, what we are going to do, have a look. This guy is our active metal, highly reactive metal. So what is going to happen? This sodium is going to replace hydrogen. You know that the valency of sodium is 1 and the valency of hydrogen is also 1. So no problem at all. We can directly replace it. There's no need to balance the reaction. It's already balanced because valency of sodium is 1 and the valency of hydrogen is also 1. So easily replacement is here. RONA will come here and the hydrogen will come out. The hydrogen comes out, my dear friends. Now you will be thinking that one hydrogen is coming out. That one hydrogen can be written as half of H2. So hydrogen gas is being evolved here. So this is how your alcohol can react with the active metal, my dear friends. When alcohol reacts with active metal, there is a cleavage. There is a cleavage of OH bond, and that active metal will replace the hydrogen from an alcohol, and hydrogen will come out as hydrogen gas, and you will be getting sodium, that is metal, alkoxide. RO group is called as alkoxide here, alkoxide. So you got sodium alkoxide, my dear friends. I hope you have understood that how does that active metal interact with an alcohol, and there is a cleavage of OH bond. Similarly, potassium, magnesium, and aluminum all will react with the alcohol. And you have understood one more point, that your alcohol gives out H. So when any substance gives out H, obviously it reveals its acidic nature, which we are going to study later in this particular topic, but not now. So let's go to the second reaction now. See here now, the second type of reaction where alcohol cleavage of OH bond will take place in the alcohol. Once again here, it's a reaction with Grignard's reagent. So let's read the statement. Alcohols react with Grignard's reagent to form alkanes. So dear friends, alcohols interact with Grignard's reagent to form alkanes. A very easy thing it is. Have a look here. Let us draw the both things first. Let us draw an alcohol first. ROH. This is our alcohol. And we know that this bond will break. That should be in your mind. And let's take on the, this is our alcohol. And let's take on the Grignard's reagent. Let's mention it as R dash. Okay. MgX. This is the Grignard's reagent. Grignard's reagent. So dear friends, I told you that when your alcohol interacts with the Grignard's reagent, what is formed? Alkanes are formed. So have a look here. How does the alkane is formed here? And you are knowing that OH bond will break. So H will come out. So this H comes out with this R dash group. R dash of Grignard's reagent. So my dear friends, this R will interact with H. So you will be getting here RH as a product. And remaining thing is ROMGX. You will be also getting ROMGX. So dear friends, this particular substance where you have to focus on, this RH is nothing but it's your alkane. So dear friends, when alcohol interacts with Grignard's reagent, you are getting the alkane. And remember, but the R group of this alkane comes from the Grignard's reagent. So it is R dash. Remember this R dash. So remember that the R dash of alkane, that means alkyl group of alkane, comes from the Grignard's reagent. So let us understand it with an example here. Have a look here. If you have an alcohol of this type, CH3, CH2, okay, then OH. And you know that which bond is going to break. This bond is going to break and make it to interact with Grignard's reagent. This is our alcohol. So let's take on a Grignard's reagent. CH3, MgBr. So dear friends, what we are going to do, we have to make them to interact. I told you how to make them interact. Take out H from here and CH3 from the Grignard's reagent. And this guy is your R dash. CH3 is your R dash. So what is the product? This is our Grignard's reagent. So what is the product, my dear friends? First of all, we'll write down CH3. This CH3 dash, it has interacted with hydrogen. So one hydrogen is here. Obviously, it will become CH4. That is our methane. And methane is our alkane. And the remaining thing is CH3, CH2, OMGBr. So my dear friends, you got your alkane right out here, which is methane. So dear friends, this is how we are going to prepare the alkanes from the alcohols. And this is basically the chemical property of an alcohol, that it interacts with the Grignard's reagent and it produces an alkane. And obviously there will be a cleavage of OH bond. So the reaction with active metals, cleavage of OH bond in alcohol, reaction with Grignard's reagent, there is a cleavage of OH bond. Now, at third place, we will study the esterification reaction of alcohols. And when we study the esterification reaction of alcohol with acid chlorides, yes, with carboxylic acids, yes, with acetic anhydrides, then in their case also, there is a cleavage of OH bond, my dear friends. So let's move on and study the esterification reactions. Dear students, let's look into esterification reaction. Have a look here. You will take on an alcohol here, and you have to do the same thing. You have to break the OH bond right out here. So in first case, we will study, my dear friends, here, the reaction of alcohol. Let's take on an alcohol, CH3OH, that is methanol we are taking, with carboxylic acid. So I will write down the carboxylic acid in this way, C double bond O and OH. So in reverse order, I have written, carboxylic acid. So this is our alcohol. So alcohol is interacting with carboxylic acid. And remember, in this alcohol, this CH3 I have mentioned. So better we will mention here R, means it can be any group like methyl, ethyl. Okay. So let me mention here R. So this is our alcohol and this is our carboxylic acid. And remember, this reaction is basically a reversible reaction. And we have to take on a small amount of sulfuric acid here. So we'll be taking a small amount of sulfuric acid. So what will be produced here? Have a look. It's a very simple thing. I told you something before, that there is a cleavage of which bond? There's a cleavage of OH bond here. So obviously you have to break this particular bond. And when you break this bond, you will be eliminating the water here, because acid you are using sulfuric acid. So this H plus is basically your H2SO. It comes from H2SO4. And remember, this is a reversible reaction. So this is a reversible reaction. Okay. That means the formation of product will be very less. Okay. So now here H and OH will interact and there's a loss of water. So water is being lost here, removed. And the remaining thing which remains there is basically, now there is ROCOR dash. If I write down from R dash side, let me write down from R dash side. So R dash is there, CO, and here the remaining thing is OR. So I will write down here OR. This OR group is from alcohol and this RCO is from the carboxylic acid. Okay. Now you are getting RCOOR, and that RCOR is nothing but it's your ester, my dear friends. So you got the ester. And one more thing you should remember here, my dear friends, that is this water molecule which is produced here. And remember, this COOR group is called as ester. Now this water molecule which I am mentioning here, I will write here, water has to be removed as soon as it is formed. Okay. Why water has to be removed as soon as it's formed? Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? Water has to be removed. Water has to be removed as soon as it is formed to avoid, okay, reversibility of a reaction. Reversibility of a reaction. Otherwise, what will happen if you don't remove water? Water will interact with the ester. Okay, and again you will get alcohol and carboxylic acid. So remove the water as soon as possible. And one more thing is also there. If you look at Le Chatelier's principle, if you look at Le Chatelier's principle, you will find out that when you remove the water, okay, so you remove the water. When you remove the water, the concentration, the molar concentration of water will decrease. So molar concentration of water decreases now from the product side. So what will happen, my dear friends? The reaction will shift, the equilibrium will shift in the forward direction. So when you decrease the concentration of the water, and water is your product, or you can also call it as water is your byproduct, okay, the equilibrium shifts in forward direction. So when equilibrium shifts in forward direction, more and more ester will be formed. Okay, more ester will be formed. Not only more ester, more water will be also formed. So then you have to keep on removing the water. Yes or no? To avoid the reversibility of this particular reaction. I hope you have understood that how do we take on alcohol and make them to interact with carboxylic acid in small amount of, sulfuric acid. We are getting ester and water. Water has to be removed to avoid the reversibility of a reaction. And when we remove the water, the concentration of water will decrease, and that will shift the equilibrium in forward direction. When the equilibrium is shifted in forward direction, you will be getting more and more ester and more water. Then again remove the water. So keep on removing the water in this particular reaction, my dear friends. And this is our esterification reaction because ester is formed here. Let's look into the second one now. Let's take the second one. If you look at, my dear friends, an alcohol, let's take on an alcohol here, OH. Now I will make this alcohol to interact with the acid anhydride. And remember, this is your acid anhydride. COO, C double bond O, and let's call it as R dash here, no problem. This is our acid anhydride. Okay, now look here, this is our alcohol. So alcohol is made to interact with acid anhydride. And this reaction, my dear friends, can take place either in presence of acid, or it can also take place in presence of pyridine. Remember that important point. So what is going to happen here? Have a look. We have to break on the OH bond right out here. So let's break the OH bond. Yes. And remember, this H will always go with this particular part, RCOO. So H will go with RCOO part of the acid anhydride. So what is basically formed right out here? So H will go with the RCOO part. So you will be getting here, my dear friends, RCOO and then H. Yes, that is our carboxylic acid, my dear friends. And remember, let us mention it as double dash here and this one as dash. So I'm getting here R dash COOH, correct? Now what is remaining thing here? Remaining thing is RO from here and R double dash CO from here. So let us mention first of all R double dash CO from the acid anhydride and RO from the alcohol. So it will be mentioned as OR, and you are getting the ester right out. And here you are getting the carboxylic acid. And remember, this carboxylic acid which is here, it will be consumed by the base. Yes or no? Though this base is here, this pyridine is base here. Okay. And carboxylic acid we have here, it's an acid obviously. Then this part, carboxylic acid, is neutralized by pyridine. So I will write down here at this important point. Okay. Pyridine, or you can say pyridine, okay, neutralizes, or we can say consumes or neutralizes carboxylic acid, RCOOH, that is carboxylic acid. I hope, my dear friends, when the carboxylic acid is consumed, then the concentration of carboxylic acid will decrease. So obviously, the concentration of this group, the concentration of RCOOH COOH. It's consumed by the base, so its concentration will decrease. When the concentration of RCOH will decrease, my dear friends, then the equilibrium will shift in the forward direction and you will be getting more and more ester. So first of all, this pyridine will interact with the carboxylic acid. Then carboxylic acid concentration will decrease. When the concentration of carboxylic acid decreases, it's a product. Then the reaction equilibrium will shift in the forward direction. Yes or no? Then more and more alcohol will react with acid anhydride and you will be getting more and more ester. So this is how the things are happening here. And this can take place even in presence of an acid also, small amount of acid. So let's go further. And let's take on the third one now here, third reaction. Let's take first of all an alcohol with us, which we have. And let's make it interact with the acid chloride. Acid chloride is basically, my dear friends, have a look, R C double bond O Cl. Actual thing is acid chloride is your COCl like this. So I am writing it in a reverse order here. So try to understand that. COCl is your acid chloride. Remember that. So we have here acid chloride. And here we have an alcohol. So this alcohol will be made to interact with, let's call it as R dash here, no problem. So this reaction will take place in presence of pyridine. It's a base. So have a look here. What goes on? Have a look. This bond will break. Then this H plus and Cl will combine to make HCl. So you will be getting here, my dear friends, HCl plus. The remaining thing is that we will have here RO. RO is from alcohol and R-CO is from acid chloride. So let us write down R-CO from acid chloride first, then RO from alcohol we'll write down. So you are getting COOR and COR represents ester. So this is your ester. Again, this base, pyridine base will neutralize this acid, HCl. So again, I will write down here, pyridine base neutralizes, or we can say consumes HCl. So here again, the HCl concentration will decrease, the equilibrium will shift in the forward direction, then more and more ester will be formed. I hope, my dear friends, you have understood these three reactions in which I made the esters. Okay, please make note of this. Dear students, let's look into the reactions involving cleavage of carbon-oxygen bond in alcohols. So my dear friends, this is our second category of reactions. So in which there is a cleavage of carbon-oxygen bond. A very simple thing. So carbon-oxygen bond is breaking here. So this CO bond will break. So remember, what are those reactions here? Reaction with halogen acids, reaction with phosphorus halides, reaction with thionyl chloride, and reaction with ammonia. In these reactions, you will find out that there is a cleavage of carbon-oxygen bond. My dear friends, there is a cleavage of carbon-oxygen bond in case of alcohols. So remember that, and let's go further. First of all, we'll study the reaction with halogen acids. So have a look. So dear friends, reaction with halogen acids. Alcohols react with halogen acids to form haloalkanes and water. That means alcohols will react with halogen acids, HX, to make haloalkanes. Haloalkane means RX plus water. And remember, this bond has to break. Carbon-oxygen bond has to break. And remember the order of reactivity of halogen acids. So how fast the halogen acids react with the alcohols? So highly reactive is HI, because the bond in HI is very weak, it breaks easily. HI bond is very weak, it breaks easily, so reactivity is more. So this is the order of reactivity of halogen acids towards alcohols. Yes. And now look here, the order of reactivity of alcohols in these reactions. So the order of reactivity of alcohols will be 3 degree greater than 2 degree, 2 degree greater than 1 degree. So halogen acids order of reactivity is HI, HBr, HCl. So greater is HI. And in case of alcohols, greater is 3 degree alcohol. That means 3 degree alcohol is highly reactive here. And in case of halogen acids, HI is highly reactive. HI is highly reactive. Please remember that important point. Okay. So let us go further. Look here, my dear friends, this important information you should remember. Due to low reactivity of primary and secondary alcohols, you know that 3 degree alcohol is more reactive than 2 degree and more reactive than 1 degree. So these two will have low reactivity. So I will write down here. Due to low reactivity of primary 1 degree and 2 degree alcohols, they are treated with concentrated HCl plus catalyst anhydrous ZnCl2, and this is called as Lucas reagent. And remember, my dear friends, what I am telling you, 1 degree and 2 degree alcohols, okay, they have low reactivity. When they have low reactivity, my dear friends, so what I am going to do, they are treated with Lucas reagent. So we have to treat them with Lucas reagent. And what is Lucas reagent, my dear friends? Your Lucas reagent is concentrated HCl plus anhydrous. Anhydrous means without water. Anhydrous ZnCl2. But if you look at the tertiary alcohol, my dear friends, look at the tertiary alcohol. If you look at, it's highly reactive. So you need not to treat it with the Lucas reagent. You can treat the tertiary alcohol directly with only concentrated HCl. Treat it only with concentrated HCl and you will get your product. And your product will be obviously haloalkane. So my dear friends, only primary and secondary alcohols are treated with Lucas reagent. And tertiary alcohol can be treated with concentrated HCl and you will get your product. So tertiary alcohols are highly reactive. So they do not even require ZnCl2. But if you use ZnCl2, no problem. But they don't require ZnCl2. So when you are treating with the primary alcohol and secondary alcohol with the Lucas reagent and to get haloalkane, this is known as Gru's method. This is known as Gru's method. So let us understand it in detail. Let's take on the primary alcohol here. CH3, CH2OH. This guy is our primary alcohol. And you know that primary alcohol has to be treated with the Lucas reagent. And Lucas reagent will be your concentrated HCl in presence of a catalyst. And that catalyst is anhydrous ZnCl2, zinc chloride. Anhydrous means without water. So these two things together, we call it as Lucas reagent. So concentrated HCl and anhydrous ZnCl2 is known as Lucas reagent. So and obviously this bond is going to break here. So OH will come out, my dear friends. OH will react with H. And remember, this anhydrous ZnCl2 is a catalyst. So it will only increase the speed of reaction. It will not be involved in reaction. It will only increase the speed of reaction. So this catalyst has a role that speed of reaction will be increased by this. So now tell me, what is the product formed here? CO bond is cleaved. The product formed will be here. CH3, CH2, and finally this OH and H is coming out, then Cl remains there, so it will react with Cl now. So you are getting haloalkane. Which haloalkane you are getting? Chloroethane. And that chloroethane is your haloalkane, my dear friends. And along with haloalkane, you are getting also water. Water is also released. And remember, this reaction is very slow reaction. It's a very slow reaction. That's why we require a catalyst. Okay. And this 1 degree alcohol has very low reactivity. Okay. It has very low reactivity. I can mention here low reactivity. So let's take on now
secondary alcohol. If you take on a secondary alcohol here, my dear friends, this is our 2-degree alcohol. This is also having low reactivity. This is also very less reactive. So I will be using a concentrated, again, HCl in presence of anhydrous ZnCl2, which is a catalyst. So same thing is going to happen. OH will come out from here and H will come out from concentrated HCl. So the remaining thing will be here. Cl will remain here. And here it will interact with the carbon. And which carbon it will interact? 2-degree carbon it will interact. So you'll be getting here CH3, C, CH3H, and then you will be having here Cl. So plus H2O is lost. So again, you are getting here haloalkane. So my dear friends, when you are 1-degree alcohol and 2-degree alcohol, this is your 2-degree alcohol. When you are 1-degree alcohol and 2-degree alcohol are treated with Lucas reagent, we are getting the haloalkanes, and byproduct is water. So remember always one thing, that these primary alcohol and secondary alcohol are less reactive. That's why we are using the anhydrous ZnCl2 as a catalyst. Yes. So now if you look at tertiary alcohol, remember, look at the tertiary alcohol now. If you take on the tertiary alcohol, my dear friends, 3-degree alcohol, remember 3-degree alcohol is highly reactive. Highly reactive. So when 3-degree alcohol is highly reactive, remember it can react with concentrated HCl, okay? Can react with concentrated HCl, okay, in absence of catalyst. Which catalyst? In absence of anhydrous ZnCl2. So no requirement of ZnCl2 here, because tertiary alcohol is more reactive. So when it's more reactive, what happens here? You can use only concentrated HCl. And again, you have to cleave this bond. Carbon-oxygen bond has to be cleaved. So remember that thing. So OH and H will come out. So no need of using here anhydrous ZnCl2. So what is the product formed here? CH3C, CH3, CH3, and finally you will be having here Cl. So you are getting a haloalkane here. Haloalkane you are getting. And plus H2O as a byproduct. I hope, my dear friends, you have understood. Primary and secondary alcohols are having low reactivity. So they require the catalyst. Which catalyst? Anhydrous ZnCl2. But tertiary alcohol is highly reactive. So it does not require what? It does not require the anhydrous ZnCl2. It can directly react it with concentrated HCl. I hope, my dear friends, you have understood this thing. Let's go further. Now look here, reaction with phosphorus halides. So this reaction with phosphorus halides of an alcohol, it will also involve the cleavage of which bond, my dear friends? The CO bond. It will involve the cleavage of CO bond will take place here. Reaction with phosphorus halides. Okay. So alcohols on reaction with phosphorus halides like PCl3, PCl5 give haloalkanes. So here also we are getting haloalkanes, or you can also call it as alkyl halides. So let us do it. Have a look here. Let's talk about an alcohol here. CH3, CH2, and we have OH. Let's break this bond. And I am treating it with phosphorus halide, PCl3. So remember, my dear friends, what happens actually? In case of PCl3, phosphorus trichloride, this P will change into phosphoric acid or phosphorus acid. It will change into the phosphorus acid. Okay. So what I need actually here, try to understand. How many OH groups I will take here? I will take it as 3 times alcohol. Let me take this as 3 times. So here I will get 3 OH groups. 3 OH groups will provide me, try to understand. These 3 OH groups will provide me 3 oxygen and 3 hydrogen. 3 times OH group provides me 3 oxygen and 3 hydrogen. And this guy will provide me 1 phosphorus. So when these things will interact, you will be getting here H3PO3, and H3PO3 is a phosphorus acid. So I hope you have understood. Now this molecule will remain there how many times? CH3, CH2, this part remains there. Now chlorine is 3 times, it will come here as Cl. So you are getting here halo alkane, my dear friends. I hope you are understanding. So my dear friends, the products which we are getting here basically, let me remove this thing here first. Let me remove this part now. So you understood that we are getting the haloalkane, which is chloroethane, and you will be getting an acid that is H3PO3. H3PO3 is basically the phosphorus acid. Now this was about the alcohol actually. So we are taking here 1 degree alcohol, no problem. So if we go for now one more example, CH3, CH2, OH. So let us talk about this alcohol now. And let us see what is the thing we are obtaining. Break the CO bond first and make it here react with PCl5. When PCl5 is reacting with the alcohol, understand my dear friends, at that time an acid is not formed. Phosphorus acid will not be formed. What will be formed, you should remember. We are not writing it even 3 times also. Only one oxygen is here. Yes. And obviously, phosphorus will interact with this one oxygen. Phosphorus will interact with only one oxygen here. So you will be getting PO. Then you take out of 5 chlorine, you give 1 chlorine to the H. It will become HCl. Yes. Remaining chlorines are 4. Give 3 chlorines here. It will become POCl3, phosphooxy trichloride. The remaining chlorine is 1. That will go to CH3, CH2 and Cl. So this is actually a trick of remembering this thing. So obviously you are getting a haloalkane. So my dear friends, you got the haloalkane. So dear friends, remember this particular thing. When the 1 degree alcohol is treated with PCl5, you will be getting a haloalkane. And the byproducts are POCl3 and HCl. But when you are making the alcohol to react with PCl3, you are getting haloalkane and the byproduct is phosphorus acid. So please remember that thing. Let's go further. So reaction with thionyl chloride. Alcohols on reaction with thionyl chloride in presence of pyridine produce chloroalkane or alkyl chloride. That means same thing. Haloalkane is produced here also. So let's have a look. Let us treat our alcohol with RCH2OH. Remember, cleavage of CO bond will happen. So treat it with thionyl chloride. So what you are going to get? Remember, this SO will interact with oxygen. Like phosphorus was interacting with oxygen, so this SO will also interact with one oxygen. Try to understand. So you will get SO2 plus. Then one hydrogen will react with one chlorine, means will interact with one chlorine. So you will get HCl. And remembering, the remaining chlorine is 1. So that chlorine will come and interact with RCH2. So you'll be getting like this. This is the haloalkane. And in this case, we are getting the byproducts as HCl and SO2, sulfur dioxide and HCl as byproduct. So through the reaction of alcohol with thionyl chloride, this is your thionyl chloride, we are getting haloalkane. Yes. So my dear friends, here also we are getting haloalkane. Let's go further. Reaction with ammonia. When the mixture of vapors of an alcohol and ammonia are passed over heated alumina at 633 Kelvin, a mixture of primary, secondary and tertiary amines are produced. That means you have to take 2 things. You have to take alcohol plus you have to take ammonia, NH3. And this vapor, okay, these are the vapor. They will be in the vapor state. Okay, these vapors have to be passed over. These vapors are passed over heated alumina. Heated alumina. Alumina means Al2O3, aluminium oxide. At which temperature? At 633 Kelvin. And what is the resultant of this? The resultant of this is that we are getting primary, secondary and tertiary amines. So let us do this particular problem. Have a look. Let us take on, first of all, my dear friends, an alcohol. So let us take on an alcohol, CH3, CH2, OH. And remember, you are breaking this bond. That you have to remember. And you have to treat it with ammonia. Ammonia will be here. I will write down like this, ammonia. If you don't mind, this is NH3 only. This is our ammonia. And we will be using here a catalyst, that is Al2O3. And the temperature to be maintained is 633 Kelvin. So obviously the temperature mentioned here is 633 Kelvin. So what is going to happen? This bond will break. This is our alcohol and this is our ammonia. These vapors of these two substances are passed over Al2O3, that is alumina. So these guys will come out, water will come out. So what is the remaining thing here? You will get here CH3, CH2, and then NH2 will interact with this part. You will get here NH2. And NH2 is basically your, remember, it's your 1 degree amine, primary amine. So this is your primary amine, my dear friends. Now let us make this primary amine. I told you that primary amine can interact with, you know what? One more basically alcohol molecule. So you got the primary amine, but I told you that if you go back, you will see, I told you that you are getting primary amine, secondary amine, and tertiary amine. So let us see how we are getting the primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now let me take on this primary amine now. CH3, CH2, NH2. This is my primary amine, my dear friends. Okay. So I can write down this primary amine in the form of NH and H like this. So this is my primary amine. And I will treat it with the vapors of one more alcohol molecule. One more alcohol molecule I will treat it. So let me write down it in a sequence here. Let me reverse the alcohol molecule to show the reaction. So I will treat it with another alcohol molecule. So OH, this is our alcohol, this is our primary alcohol. So in first step, I got the primary alcohol. Now in second step, let us suppose this is step number 1. And now this is step number 2. In step number 2, I am treating now primary amine with primary alcohol once again. And in the presence of same thing, Al2O3, alumina at 633 Kelvin. So what is the possibility here? Have a look. The possibility is that this H and this OH will come out. That means water will come out. So in this reaction also water is coming out in the first, and here also water will come out. Now what happens here, my dear friends? You will get CH3, CH2, and here will remain NH. And that NH will react now. Look here. This part is going to react with this part. So obviously we'll be having here NH, then CH2 and CH3. And remember, NH is called as secondary amine. So this NH group is basically the secondary amine. NH2 was primary amine, but this guy is a secondary amine. Now secondary amine, I told you already, can be converted further into tertiary amine. So let's have a look. Secondary amine can be further converted into tertiary amine. Let's go for the step number 3. So CH3, CH2, NH, then you have CH2 and CH3. This was my 2 degree amine, that is secondary amine. Let us cross check. Okay, so that was our 2 degree amine. Okay, so it's again treated with alcohol. Let us reverse the alcohol, CH3, CH2, OH. Let's reverse the alcohol. So what will happen? This hydrogen which is present on the N, one hydrogen is present there. So let me take it out and let me write down it by red color. Just a minute. So dear friends, one more hydrogen is remaining here. And this hydrogen will be replaced now. This hydrogen and this OH from the alcohol will be replaced. It means they will be taken out. This H will be taken out and OH from alcohol will be taken out. Okay. So now what is the product formed here? Obviously minus H2O, and you are using Al2O3, aluminium oxide. So you will be getting here CH3, CH2, N, CH2, CH3. Now one more, this group CH2, CH3 group has come and it will remain with the lone pair. So you are getting here tertiary amine. So N stands for tertiary amine. So remember always NH2 group is your primary amine, NH group will be your secondary amine, and N will be your tertiary amine, my dear friends. So you have produced primary, secondary, and tertiary amine in case of when you have taken the alcohol and treated them with the ammonia first. Then later end product was the tertiary amine. Tertiary amine can be further converted into quaternary amine if we donate this lone pair. By using this lone pair, we can convert it into quaternary amine as well. Remember that point, by using the lone pair. So I hope, my dear friends, you have understood this, the formation of primary, secondary, and tertiary amines from alcohols when we treat them with ammonia in presence of aluminum oxide at 633 Kelvin temperature, my dear friends. Please make note of this. Dear students, let's understand now the reactions involving alcohol molecule as a whole. So my dear friends, what are those reactions? Dehydration of alcohols, oxidation of alcohols, and finally the action of heated copper over alcohols. So let us see first of all dehydration of alcohols. When we talk of dehydration of alcohols, you should remember one thing. In dehydration of alcohols, if we take on an alcohol, there are two possibilities. If we do its dehydration, means loss of water, and this dehydration can be done in presence of, let us suppose, concentrated H2SO4. There are two possibilities, my dear friends. Either you will get an alkene here or you will get an ether. So when you will get an alkene and when you will get an ether, that is the question. So alcohols, when they undergo dehydration in presence of concentrated H2SO4, you may get an alkene or you may get an ether. But when are you getting an alkene and when you are getting an ether, that is the question, my dear friends. So let us see that particular thing first. So remember, dehydration of alcohols we are talking about. We will get alkenes. Look here. Dehydration of alcohols can lead to the formation of either alkenes or you will get ethers. Yes, my dear friends. But when you are getting the alcohols and when you are getting, basically when you are getting the ethers and when you are getting alkenes, that is the important point here. Have a look. Just let us take on an alcohol. When you treat alcohol with concentrated H2SO4, and there is a possibility of loss of water here. Okay, so water is lost, and this is called as intramolecular, dehydration, because water is lost from the same molecule. So intramolecular dehydration, and so in intramolecular dehydration, water is lost. And remember, this water is lost at 443 Kelvin temperature. So we are using here at 443 Kelvin temperature. So at this temperature, from this primary alcohol, water is lost. And when water is lost, then obviously at 443 Kelvin temperature, I will be getting the alkene. So I am getting an alkene, and which is here ethene. So I am getting ethene, my dear friends. So remember, intramolecular dehydration will take place. Loss of water will happen from within the molecule only. Yes, and we will be getting an alkene. Remember the temperature, 443 Kelvin is the temperature here. So let us go for now. Same reaction, CH3, CH2, OH, and we will take one more molecule, CH3, CH2, OH. So my dear friends, what is going to happen here? Have a look. Let me change the color. So what is lost here? Water is lost. But water is not lost from the same molecule. We have here two molecules of primary alcohol. So this is not called as intramolecular dehydration. This is called as intermolecular dehydration. So this is intramolecular dehydration. And this intermolecular dehydration will take place What is happening here? Loss of water, and it's taking place at 413 Kelvin. So obviously in presence of a concentrated H2SO4, okay, at 413 Kelvin, there is an intermolecular dehydration from two alcohol molecules, and you will be getting here ether, CH3CH2O and CH2CH3. So my dear friends, here you are getting diethyl ether. So remember this thing, through intramolecular dehydration, you are getting the alkene, and through intermolecular dehydration, you are getting the ether. And obviously, the intramolecular dehydration takes place at 443 Kelvin, okay? And here the intermolecular dehydration of alcohols takes place at 413 Kelvin. So remember, for competitive exams, at 443 Kelvin, you will be getting alkene. At 413 Kelvin, you will be getting the ether from the alcohols through intramolecular dehydration and through intermolecular dehydration. So let us go into the second point now here. Have a look. We have the vapors of alcohol. When the vapors of alcohol are passed over heated alumina, alumina can be also used here, okay, as a catalyst. So then at 523 we are getting ether, and then at 633 we are getting ethene. So at higher temperature we are getting alkene, at lower temperature we are getting the ether, my dear friends. So let us check with the higher temperature first, 633. So now, my dear friends, if I will take an alcohol here. Now, in place of, my dear friends, concentrated H2SO4, I am using a catalyst now, Al2O3. Yes. And the temperature range which they have mentioned is here, which is given, that is 633 Kelvin. So 633 Kelvin. What will happen? The same thing will happen, dehydration. Which dehydration will happen? Intramolecular. Intramolecular dehydration will happen. So in presence of alumina also, intramolecular dehydration will happen. That is the loss of water. And obviously, this takes place at 633 Kelvin temperature. And the product format is your alkene. So you are getting here alkene, which is nothing but it's your ethene. So dear friends, in presence of concentrated H2SO4 at 443 Kelvin, you are basically getting the alkene. But here in case of alumina, which is a catalyst, you are getting the alkene at 633 Kelvin, my dear friends. So through intramolecular dehydration. So let us go for now one more temperature range, which is 523. 523. Have a look. Now at 523, what will happen? Let's take on two alcohol molecules here. Try to understand. Let's remove the water here, and this is called as intermolecular dehydration. This is intermolecular dehydration. So here the water molecule will be lost, and this will take place at 523 Kelvin, my dear friends. So this is primary alcohol. This is also a primary alcohol. And remember, this is taking place in presence of a catalyst, alumina, at 523 Kelvin temperature. So obviously you'll be getting CH3, CH2O, CH2 and CH3. So here you are getting the ether. So my dear friends, I hope you have understood now when you are getting the alkene and when you are getting the ether. So now, my dear friends, let us summarize it a little bit. Have a look. You were having a temperature of 443 Kelvin and 413 Kelvin. In second case, you were having a temperature range of 633 Kelvin and 523 Kelvin. Just let us see this temperature range first. 523 Kelvin. Okay. So what happens here at 443 Kelvin? You will be getting an alcohol in presence of concentrated H2SO4 gives us, my dear friends, alkene. And here at this temperature range, alcohol in presence of concentrated H2SO4 gives us ether. So same, this is the temperature range, but here alcohol in presence of alumina, Al2O3, gives me an alkene. And here alcohol in presence of catalyst alumina gives me an ether. So please remember those temperature range for your competitive exams, my dear friends. I hope everybody has understood this thing. Please make note of these temperature ranges. Dear students, let us understand now oxidation of alcohols. So have a look. First of all, we will take the Collins reagent. So when we take on the Collins reagent, my dear friends, so what is our Collins reagent here? Collins reagent. It is your CrO3, that is chromium trioxide, and 2 times C5H5N, that is pyridine. So this is your Collins reagent. Then we have Corey's reagent. This Corey's reagent is basically your PCC. That is your PCC. What is PCC? PCC stands for pyridinium chlorochromate. Yes. And then after that we have PDC. PDC. PDC stands for pyridinium dichromate. Pyridinium dichromate. Okay. And what is the role of these oxidizing agents? They are oxidizing agents. What is their role? They will oxidize the primary alcohol to aldehydes and secondary alcohol to ketone in anhydrous medium. So they are basically oxidizing the primary alcohols into aldehydes and secondary alcohols into ketones in anhydrous medium. So let's have a look. So my dear friends, let us take on the primary alcohol first. If I take on the primary alcohol, this is our 1 degree alcohol, and I have to treat it with PCC, okay, or I can treat it with PDC, or I can treat it with yours Collins reagent, and PCC is also called as Corey's reagent, and you can do it in anhydrous medium, and in that anhydrous medium you will be using CH2Cl2. That is basically called as dichloromethylene. So this is basically your anhydrous medium without water. So water you are not using. So you are taking an anhydrous medium. And your primary alcohol, have a look. Your primary alcohol will be oxidized by these reagents into aldehyde, CH3CHO. So you will be getting an aldehyde here. So primary alcohol is oxidized to aldehyde by PCC, by PDC, and by Collins reagent. Yes. Okay, dear my dear friends, let's go to the secondary alcohol now. Let's have a look. CH3C, CH3H, and OH. If we treat secondary alcohol with the same reagents like PCC, or you take PDC, or you take Collins reagent in anhydrous medium, the same situation, then what will happen? It will be converted. Secondary alcohol will be converted into ketone. Secondary alcohol will be converted into ketone. These 2 hydrogen groups will be eliminated from here, from 2 degree alcohol, and it will be oxidized to, so oxidation will take place. Your secondary alcohol will change into ketone, and that ketone is your acetone. So remember now, these substances are converting the primary alcohol into aldehyde, and they are oxidizing the secondary alcohol into ketone or acetone. I hope you have remembered this thing. Let's go further, my dear friends. Let us see, my dear friends, one more thing here. Acidified potassium dichromate oxidizes primary alcohols into carboxylic acids and secondary alcohols into ketones. So let us see that reaction as well. Have a look. If you have basically a primary alcohol, okay, and now I am using, in place of PDC, PCC, we are using now acidified potassium dichromate. So acidified potassium dichromate. Yes, H plus. You can also mention H2SO4. It's your choice. So acidified potassium dichromate we have here. We call it as acidified, okay, potassium dichromate, K2Cr2O7. Yes. So my dear friends, this thing is this thing. Okay. Now what will happen to the primary alcohol? Primary alcohol will be oxidized directly to the carboxylic acid. So primary alcohol will be directly converted into carboxylic acid. So that is the power of acidic K2Cr2O7, potassium dichromate. So now what about the secondary alcohols? What will happen to the secondary alcohols, my dear friends? By using the acidified potassium dichromate. So by using acidified potassium dichromate, the secondary alcohol will not be converted into the carboxylic acids. It will be converted into ketone. So secondary alcohol is converted into ketone by acidified K2Cr2O7, and the secondary alcohol is converted into ketone, and primary alcohol is converted into the carboxylic acid. Please remember that important thing. And let us go further. Have a look here. Jones reagent is a mixture of chromium trioxide. If we talk about here now Jones reagent. So what is Jones reagent? It's a mixture of CrO3, chromium trioxide, with dilute sulfuric acid, with dilute H2SO4. So this guy is your Jones reagent. And what is the role of a Jones reagent? It can oxidize primary alcohols to carboxylic acids and secondary alcohols to ketones. So primary alcohols to carboxylic acids and secondary alcohols to ketones. So let's talk about now Jones reagent. So when we talk of Jones reagent, my dear friends, your Jones reagent is basically CrO3 and then dilute H2SO4. So obviously it will convert your primary alcohol CH2CH2OH. This is our primary alcohol. If I use now Jones reagent, so let's use the Jones reagent, and you are knowing that what is Jones reagent? CrO3 and dilute H2SO4. Primary alcohol will be converted into carboxylic acid. So I'm getting here carboxylic acid. And now if you use the Jones reagent for the secondary alcohol, for secondary alcohol, if we use the Jones reagent, we will be getting the ketone. So we will be getting the ketone. So that is the role of Jones reagent. Please remember the role of Jones reagent. So now you learn the role of PDC, PCC, Collins reagent, potassium dichromate, and Jones reagent. So you have learned all these roles, my dear friends. Now, if we talk about now tertiary alcohols, they do not undergo oxidation in neutral or alkaline KMnO4 solution. So remember, this is an important note. Make note of this. This is an important information. That is, tertiary alcohols do not undergo oxidation in neutral or alkaline KMnO4 solution. So no oxidation of alcohols, tertiary alcohols, in neutral or alkaline KMnO4 solution. However, in presence of acidified KMnO4, but if you have acidified KMnO4, then they can give a mixture of ketones and carboxylic acids. Please remember this thing. In neutral and alkaline KMnO4 solution, tertiary alcohols will not undergo oxidation. But if it is acidified KMnO4 solution, then your tertiary alcohol can give you ketone and carboxylic acid as a product. So remember that important information. Let's go further. Now let us talk about action of heated copper over alcohols. So what is the role of copper over alcohols? Have a look. Different classes of alcohols give different products when their vapors are passed over heated copper. So that means if I pass the vapors of an alcohol vapors, I will pass over heated copper. Then what is the possibility? What are the products we are getting? We are getting different types of products. So have a look here. Primary alcohols give aldehydes plus hydrogen gas. That means when you treat primary alcohol with, you know what, heated copper, or if you pass primary alcohol over heated copper, you will get aldehyde and hydrogen gas. If you pass secondary alcohol over heated copper, you will get ketone and hydrogen gas. If you pass tertiary alcohol, okay, it will undergo dehydration, okay, to form alkenes. So remember these three things. So let us understand the concept of that heated copper at 573 Kelvin. Have a look here. So we have a heated copper here. Okay. And this is basically at 573 Kelvin. You can mention copper at 573 Kelvin. And I told you that primary alcohol, when heated, have a look here, CH3, CH2, OH. So when you heat the primary alcohol, what is the product you are getting, my dear friends? The primary alcohol is changed into aldehyde. So what will happen here? Have a look. Let me make you understand this thing. Let me just use a different color here. So what will happen to the primary alcohol? Be careful. Let me erase this thing as well. Look here, this H will come out and this H will also come out. So you will be getting here CH3CHO, that is aldehyde is formed. And two hydrogens are coming out now, that means hydrogen gas is also liberated. Now let's talk about now secondary alcohol. When you talk of secondary alcohol, my dear friends, this is your secondary alcohol. And same situation, we are taking copper at 573 Kelvin. So it's heated copper. So what is going to happen here? Try to understand. These two hydrogens will come out. And this secondary alcohol will give you the ketone. So you'll get CH3C, CH3O, that is your ketone, and plus hydrogen gas will be liberated. Dear students, if you take on now tertiary alcohol, have a look here. Let's take on the tertiary alcohol. So you can see that this tertiary carbon in tertiary alcohol does not have any hydrogen. So what happens, my dear friends? Try to understand. Let me just erase this group and let's write down it once again. Have a look. CH2H. So if I treat the tertiary alcohol with copper at 573 Kelvin, that means tertiary alcohol vapors are passed over heated copper. So what is going to happen? OH group will be removed from the tertiary carbon and H will be removed from this primary carbon. So there is a loss of water molecule here. And you will be getting a product here, CH3, C, CH3. And now you have here CH2. And obviously there's a double bond now. So my dear friends, it will be your alkene, 1, 2, 3, my dear friends. So obviously there's a dehydration is happening here, my dear friends. So it has become 2-methyl propene. So dear friends, I hope you have understood the primary alcohol on treatment with copper at 573 Kelvin gives me, my dear friends, aldehyde. Okay, if it is a secondary alcohol, I will be getting the ketone. But if it is a tertiary alcohol, I am getting an alkene, my dear friends. So please remember all these informations. And this was all for today. Have a great time.